I'm assuming he's in great shape and he's ready physically and mentally. Well, so am I.
Mike. So.
Yeah, I was just going to say, this morning you faced off for the first time. We talked earlier about what was said afterwards, but when you were standing looking into his eyes, one, what did you see, and two, what were you saying to him? We couldn't hear that.
Yeah, when I looked at him, I'll tell you what I was thinking. I was thinking, you're not as big as what I thought, you know, because I thought he was much taller. He wasn't as tall as what I thought. Obviously, he's very slim. I know that. That's his body type. And when he was looking, it's like he was trying to convince himself, I felt like he was trying to convince himself. I said to him after a while, because, there was a long silence, and then I said, what are you doing? Are you trying to intimidate me? You're not going to intimidate me. I'm not intimidated. I'm not one of these opponents that he's faced off with many, many times that knew this fight was over. A lot of his opponents were already mentally beaten and they were showing up for a paycheck and the fight was a formality. I wanted him to know that isn't the case here, my friend. I am coming here to fight with every heart and with every bit of heart and soul that I have. Every fibre in my body will be willing to win this fight. And if he beats me, I'll be the first to congratulate him. I'll be the first one to offer to take him out to dinner and say, well done. I'm assuming he won't accept the invitation, but listen, I'm in the best shape of my life. Physically, mentally, this is the best version of myself. And if he beats me, then credit where credit's due. Well done.
You've said many times
Pardon
the
me.
shape of your life, both mentally and physically. But why though? Like, what was it about this? Was it this fight in particular that got you in such great shape, or is it something else that has made this?
I have consistently overtrained, so I haven't overtrained. I've still pushed myself to where I need to do, but I haven't overtrained, which is a real issue in mixed martial arts. The way people train in MMA, there's so many different styles: boxing, wrestling, jiu-jitsu, kickboxing, sparring, conditioning work, weightlifting, running. We're trying to cram it in, and people overtrain, and I was very guilty of that. In many ways, the training that we do in mixed martial arts is back in the Stone Ages. There's no real sports science applied to it yet. Some of it is starting to creep in, and Scott Prohaska, my conditioning coach, has done a great job of keeping everything where it needs to be, the correct amount of output. So I've done that. I've kept my muscle on. I've worked with a nutritionist. In the past, I would lose body fat, but I would lose muscle as well. I've trimmed the body fat. I've kept the muscle on. I haven't overtrained, but I've pushed myself to the limit where it needs to be. Mentally, my boxing coach, Jason Perillo, has mentored me throughout this training camp, and he has me, in a very, very good place mentally. And this is my time. It's as simple as that. This is my time. If I don't do it now, I'll never do it.
Michael, you mentioned sort of most of the opponents that have fought Anderson in the past being beaten going into the fight. Have you actually spent any time doing any sort of mind sport coaching or anything like that to prepare you for this, or are you just going in as normal?
It's actually quite funny. Sports psychologist, pardon me. Sports psychologist that I've worked with in the past, a man named Brian Kane. I'm talking so much, I'm starting to jumble my words. Brian Kane. I have a session planned with him this afternoon. He's worked with many fighters, many great athletes. It's just one last little top up. I haven't done that the entire camp, but he reached out yesterday and said, if you want to get a quick session in, by all accounts. So certainly.
To your advantage here over a lot of these fighters, if you have your family based here with you at the moment for fight week, Rebecca, your children, Callum. I know Callum trains and is getting pretty good. Does he do any part of fight week with you? Will he be with you in any way rolling?
Yeah, unfortunately he's not here this week because he's got school, and of course as a young man that's more important. He begged and pleaded to be here, but I'm sorry Callum, if you're watching, it's a no. Although I wish he was here. But Callum loves the sport, he's obsessed with the sport, but he's an intelligent young man, he's a straight A student. I see big things for him in his future. He says he wants to fight. I'm like, oh, I don't know about that. So we'll let him have a play around, then he can go to university.
Will he be there watching on Saturday?
Oh, absolutely, for sure.
And you've obviously moved to the States to train. For any upcoming fighters in the UK, how do you sort of value that trip across overseas? We're seeing a lot of guys move out to TriStar, ATT. Do you think it's valuable for the youngsters to be getting the stateside experience?
To be honest, this is the beginning of my 11th year with the company. I've been a professional fighter for a long, long time, and 11 years in the UFC. I've only been in America for 4 years. Obviously, I'm out there exploring other opportunities. I do a lot of TV work now with Fox Sports and the UFC, so it's a great place to be for me, to really try and broaden my horizons, because the sport's bigger out there. It's plain and simple. But you don't need to be there to be a successful fighter. That isn't the reason I went there. I didn't go there to work with different coaches. You can still be a very, very successful fighter based in the UK. So, yeah, absolutely.
Manchester has really sort of come up as a big area in the UK MMA scene. I mean, what is it about the Northerners that put you a step ahead? I mean, I think there's only one Southern English fighter on the card.
Well, you know, I mean, if you want to talk about English stereotypes, what is it they say? You know, Northern monkeys, Southern fairies. That's what they say. Of course, you know, I don't buy into that, but you know, if that answers your question.
And how do you prepare for someone like Anderson, who, I mean, from any given fight, is a different fighter on Fight Night? We see him against Diaz, sort of messing around with him. Then we see the sort of likewise against Weidman. But how do you prepare for him, or do you just make sure that your game is as good as it can be on Fight?
Just make sure my game is as good as can be. You know, at the end of the day, he will do what he does. You know, he has a wide arsenal of strikes and attacks. I've just got to make sure that I'm as ready as I can possibly be, which I am. You know, I'm not second guessing. I'm not anticipating what he's going to do. I'm not thinking, oh, he's going to do this. I'm not looking at him at the stare down and seeing that he was angry and think he's going to act a certain way, because you can always be wrong. You know, I have no idea how he's going to behave or how he's going to act. I can only control me, you know, so I'm going to go out there and do what I've trained to do and what I've planned to do. Hopefully, it will be enough to get the job done.
I'm not sure if you managed to catch the UFC 196 press conference last night, but Nate Diaz made quite a big accusation that everyone in the UFC is on steroids, and obviously giving your stance on that. What do you make of that?
I would say that he's probably not far off wrong, and people are getting caught all the time. And it's disgusting. I'm a martial artist. I've never used a performance-enhancing drug. I am proud of that fact, and this is martial arts, and it's disgusting. I don't know how they look at themselves in the mirror. Anyone that's won a world title through being a cheat, you know, they know back in their mind that they cheated to win that title. You know, so does it really count? And I've worked with this guy here, Scott Prohaska, for a long, long time now. You know, I've taken my conditioning to another level. I've made sure I haven't overtrained. Well, Scott made sure I haven't overtrained. And, you know, if you want to take steroids, good for you. You know, you should be ashamed of yourself. There is a problem in this sport, for sure.
So if for instance, this wasn't Anderson Silva you was fighting, I mean, given just how big he is and what he's accomplished in the sport, would you be taking a fight with someone who has been caught out in the past? Or going forward?
Yeah, probably not. Probably not, but it is Anderson Silva. It is somebody I wanted to face for a long time. He is a legend. It attracts massive media attention. Initially, it was Gegard Mousasi, and the hype, the buzz wasn't the same. You know, I was in Starbucks and saying, somebody asked me who my opponent was. I said Gegard Mousasi, and this person wasn't sure who that was. You know, everybody knows who Anderson Silva is, so it does change things.
What do you make about the rematch with Rockhold and Weidman? And if you had been the ref in the first fight, whereabouts would you have stopped that fight? Do you think there was a lot of unanswered
shots? Sure. I think was it the third round when he was mounted? That fight needed to be stopped there. They're having a rematch. I think that's a bad idea for Chris. He's gonna take another crushing defeat, and that will be 2 hard defeats in a row. That isn't easy to come back from for a fighter. Maybe 1 you can do, but 2 back to back. Okay, it's the same person. Chris is a great guy. He's a hell of an athlete, and he's a great fighter. But I just feel that Rockhold has his number and will win that rematch.
And obviously, if you're able to beat Anderson on Saturday night, is that what you're aiming for next, the title shot, the winner of that? Or where do you see with Jacare and Romero at the moment? Because obviously there's some controversy behind what's going on with Romero.
Romero's out the equation. It's as simple as that. He's another cheat. Jacare just lost, you know. I think when I beat Anderson Silva, that puts me in perfect line for the title shot. I can't see why it wouldn't. You know, there's only Chris Weidman that's ever defeated him. He's highly ranked. He's a legend. I've won 4 out of my last 5. A win over Anderson Silva puts me in line for the shot.
And how do you find the sort of fan reception coming back to the UK? Obviously, you're big overseas as well. But I mean, have you been?
Nothing compares. Nothing compares to the UK and English. It puts a smile on my face. You know, these people here. Oh man. You don't understand. You don't understand. I love it. It fills me with such pride. It really does. I know I live in the States, and people might say, "Yeah, you're full of crap. You know, you abandoned us." No, that's not the case. I'm trying to make the most out of my career and explore some TV stuff out there. I fly back to the UK regularly. Every time I see the green grass of England, it honestly puts a smile on my face. The sense of humour, the people, my friends and family are here. The support I get from the nation is something I'll take to my grave, and it's just the best feeling in the world, and I will never forget it.
And the likes of yourself, Dan Hardy, Ross Pearson really sort of put MMA on the map in the UK and have really sort of helped to drive it in the States. Who do you find as, I mean, you've got some pretty exciting young fighters on the card alongside you. at this weekend. Who are you keeping your eye on?
Well, Tom Breeze certainly has a bright future ahead of him. He's one guy that I feel that will make a big impact